Hi, I'm Brad Browning, a relationship coach and author of the X Factor program. Now, I've spent over a decade now helping people from around the world recover from breakups and win back their ex. Now, if you are hoping to win back an ex, I'd recommend that you subscribe to my channel here on YouTube because I release a new video on this topic every single week. Now, in today's video, I'm going to share with you a few stories of clients that I've had in the past who either took my advice and won back their ex in just a few months, or who completely disregarded what I said and screwed things up in a major way. Now, since these are real stories from past clients that I've worked with, I'm going to obviously change their names and other details to protect their privacy. I do take privacy seriously, but I do want to share the basics of these stories so that you can learn from their mistakes. Now, let's start with client number one, who I'll call Mary. Now, Mary and Miles dated for a couple of years. Now, Mary was head over heels for Miles, but she always got the sense that he sort of had one foot out the door. And a few weeks after their second anniversary, Mary's worst fears were confirmed when she came home to find Miles in bed with another woman. Obviously, this kind of thing is going to lead to a huge fight, which it did, and Miles then said he wasn't in love with her anymore and that this needed to end. Now, despite Mary's best effort, Miles said he needed a clean break, so he moved out quickly after. And this is when Mary's mistake started. Instead of simply letting him go, focusing on herself and processing the breakup, she went in another way, another direction entirely. When Miles came by to pick up the last of his stuff, she begged and pleaded him for another chance, but obviously he wouldn't listen. So when he left, she was terrified that this would be the last time she'd ever see him, so she decided to follow him. Yes, she kept a safe distance and tailed him through the city for an hour. And she knew that this was a mistake, but she wasn't able to stop herself. When Miles went into a bar, she followed him. And when she came in, he was all alone at the bar, having a drink. She ran up to him crying and once again begged him to give her another chance. Wouldn't he rather be at home with her than at a bar alone? And it was at that exact moment when a group of Miles' friends approached with confusion on their faces. And by now, Mary was making a scene, sobbing and pleading, and Miles simply shook his head no, too stunned to even speak. And as Mary left in tears, he could hear Miles' friends laughing at her, and honestly, she couldn't even blame them. Now, it's no surprise that Mary and Miles never did reconcile. I'm guessing that Mary is now known as Miles' crazy ex to a lot of his friends. So I think it is pretty easy to see where Mary went wrong. Don't follow or pursue your ex. Don't try to figure out what they've been up to. And don't keep track of their movements, without them knowing. This is honestly just stalking, plain and simple. And it's not only not going to be effective, it's also scary and sometimes illegal. Think about it. How many love stories start with you following somebody and watching them without their knowledge? Not many. So instead, Mary should have ideally respected Miles' wishes to be alone. And honestly, I rarely recommend that people do, take a cheater back. But in this case, it didn't even seem to be on the table. The best thing that Mary could have done would be to move on with her life, focus on herself, and cut off contact with Miles. And in some cases, this kind of clean break will actually make a cheater realize what they're giving up by showing them what life is really like without them around. But obviously, we'll never know if this would have worked for Mary because she'd already crossed the line before she sought out my help. So maybe that is the lesson. If you're thinking about signing up for my coaching program, do it now before you have a chance to make a big mistake like Mary. And you can just find more information about working with me at breakupbrad.com/coaching. I promise it's more affordable than you think, and I have over a decade of experience helping people in this kind of situation. Again, you can learn more and sign up now at breakupbrad.com/coaching. Now let's move on to client number two, Jack from Ireland. Now, Jack had dated Amanda for about 6 years. They had a really strong connection that was based, on mutual interests. And things had been great right up until Jack got a new job. Now, between that and family stuff getting in the way, Amanda complained that Jack was never around, and after a while, the two just started to drift apart. And it was then that Amanda told Jack that he had to make a choice. Either he would have to quit his job or the relationship was over. Now, Jack didn't like ultimatums, and naturally this led to a big fight, and Amanda stormed out, vowing never to talk to him again. Now, obviously, Jack was seriously upset, and he didn't know what to do next. He wanted Amanda back so badly that he even thought about quitting his job. But thankfully, Jack came across one of my videos here on YouTube about the no contact strategy, and he decided to give that a shot first. So instead of reaching out to Amanda and begging for another chance, Jack simply waited, focused on himself, and gave Amanda the space that she'd asked for. And after just 3 weeks of waiting, believe it or not, Amanda showed up on his doorstep and told him that she couldn't live without him. And now that they were both, calm, they were able to actually talk things out more rationally, and together they worked out a plan. Jack would keep his job, but he promised to make Amanda a priority. And I'm happy to say that Jack and Amanda apparently just celebrated their 7th wedding anniversary, and it never would have been possible if Jack hadn't taken my advice on no contact that fateful day. But unfortunately, not everyone is that lucky. So here's client number 3, Kenneth from the South. Now, Kenneth was upset, understandably so, and he didn't take the breakup lightly. Now, I want to say that it is okay to be hurt by a breakup. It's normal to have questions about what went wrong and why they decided to end things. But that doesn't mean you have to act on those feelings, nor should you if you want to win your ex back. These are issues that can be sorted out once the two of you are back together and you're able to have a dialogue about what went wrong. So in Kenneth's case, he actually did wait 30 days following the breakup. He took my advice there and he employed a full no contact period. But Kenneth didn't spend that time, improving himself or working on his own issues. Instead, he spent that time stewing about the breakup and overthinking what he would say to his ex on day 31. And when those 30 days did run out, Kenneth was ready with a big long message for his ex, basically accusing her of ruining his life and demanding an explanation. Now, I won't read the message here, but trust me when I say it's pretty mortifying, and it's not something that helped him in any way. Unsurprisingly, Sarah didn't even respond to this message. But Kenneth didn't stop there. Instead, he kept pestering her endlessly, asking her what he did wrong and begging her for a second chance. Now, this is a very common reaction to being dumped, and it never leads to anything other than being blocked and having your ex stay as far away from you as possible. And predictably, Sarah did just block his number and tried to move on. Then, of course, Kenneth decided to reach out to her on, Snapchat, Facebook. I think he even sent her a LinkedIn message. And in the end, Kenneth ended up getting banned from nearly every social media app you can think of due to this, harassment of Sarah. And of course, in the end, Sarah never spoke to him again. So the lesson that I take from Kenneth's story is that you have to trust the process. Don't think that no contact is something that you can do, halfway. If you don't make the most of the time apart, nothing is really going to change in that 30 days. And above all else, just because you did a full 30 days of no contact, it doesn't mean that you then can just say anything you want to your ex afterwards. You really need to take things slow, build rapport, and reattract your ex using positivity rather than negativity. Now, if you want to know how to use no contact the right way and get the full benefit from it, you need to head over to breakupbrad.com right now and watch my free tutorial video. Now, that video is packed with information about mistakes and pitfalls that many people make during this phase, and it can prevent you from making the one mistake that will leave your ex, have your ex run away from you for good. So just go to breakupbrad.com to watch that full tutorial video for free. And that just about does it for this one, folks. Remember, above all else, you need to remain calm and collected during this difficult time if you do want to have a shot with your ex. Reaching out to them and, in sadness or in anger is going to do way more harm than good. But that is it for this one. Thank you for watching all the way to the end. Thanks for your likes, subscribes, and comments, and I will see you next time.